Which is discussion and action on the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held December 16th, 2013. You have had an opportunity to review those, so I would entertain a motion.
Second. You'd entertain a motion and he moves, but
Okay.
you have to move it for approval.
You move.
Okay, thank you. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Lael and a second by Mr. Hannaford to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Lael?
Yes.
Hannaford?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Benson?
Yes.
Creed? Yes. Brown?
Yes.
Valencia?
Yes.
Okay. Item number 3, discussion and action on the approval of claims. Mr. Miller, do you have claims for this council to approve?
Yes, I do. I'd make a motion we approve claims of $210,442.05.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Miller and a second by Mr. Benson for the approval of claims. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Miller?
Yes?
Benson?
Yes.
Valencia?
Yes.
Hannaford?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Creed? Yes. Lael?
Yes.
And Brown?
Yes. Item number 4 is committee and board reports.
Well,
Mr. Dunham, I guess you got that?
I'll have a few of those because we started this early. If you remember, started this at the last meeting, we requested all the boards have a chance to tell what was going on at this meeting. And to get you started, we had the Personnel Committee meeting on December 16th. And at this meeting, we discussed the assignment of the appropriate grades and steps for employees. Decided that the grades and steps were appropriate, but we could see raising the starting wage for some of these positions, mostly the water, sewer, and sanitation positions. We discussed developing a post-offer pre-employment policy, and it was presented to the committee. The policy would be brought before the full council for ultimate approval, but this policy would ratify the use of a post-offer pre-employment drug screenings and fit test for City of Alva employees. We also discussed the longevity pay program, and it's come to management's attention that the way where the city is paying longevity needs to be changed in order to conform with FLSA. It was decided that upon verification of the possibilities the city would make the appropriate changes to this program. The changes have been made on that, and to conform with the FLSA and longevity, instead of being paying as a lump sum, is now being paid at the beginning of this year as an hourly basis instead of a flat monthly fee. The second committee on Wednesday, December 18th, the Alva Recreation Committee met. Some of the things that were discussed were the strategic plan and developing a strategic plan or a master plan on the way the rec center property would be developed as far as activities are concerned, where for example, where the basketball courts were going to be, if there are any put out there, where the football fields will be, if there are going to be any put out there. They did a survey, but didn't have a high turn-in rate, and they're going to move ahead. So they decided to move ahead with and the survey dealt with what kind of activities people in Alva would like to see at the rec park. There were about 15 or 20 surveys or activities that were decided on the surveys that citizens of Alva wanted to see. Wasn't a high survey rate turned in. I think only 100 surveys were turned in, but they decided to focus on the top 10 activities and have those incorporated into a master plan. There were some minor discussions on policies and procedures. And the next item that had the largest amount of time devoted to it was the air conditioning of the gym. And to see whether or not we wanted to hire Myers Engineering to develop the plans for the air conditioning system and bid it out for us to get it get that project completed. And that was the main things talked about at the Rec Center Committee. Now, in the Finance Committee meeting that was held previously to this meeting, a lot of the discussion was annexation topic, the topic of annexation and how we're going to proceed with that and the benefits to the city. Whether or not we just finished with that, and now I'm drawing a blank on some of the discussion topics.
We looked at boundaries a little bit on the annexation.
Boundaries of annexation.
We also talked a little bit about sewer and water rates.
Yeah, sewer and water rates. That's the biggie that I was trying to, that slipped my mind. Whether or not we need to adjust our sewer and water rates. Right now, the water and sewer department is, through the month of December, is running a deficit of about $67,000. And the discussion was whether or not we needed to look at raising our rates for the remainder of this year to try to offset that loss, that deficit. And those would be the committees that have met since the last board meeting that I'm aware of.
All right. From there, we move to item number 5. Since that was only a report item, we'll have report items of the business manager's report.
Okay. Several projects been going on. We finished up the 2012-2013 audit. The auditors were in the office on December 17th to complete their field work. At this time, we don't have any irregularities to report. They're awaiting the final report from the Alva Hospital Authority to complete the City of Alva report. Once this information has been received, a final report will be submitted to the city and the state auditor inspector as required. We've had a few irregularities. We found a few errors in our garbage billing rate. And in the rectification of this area, we've discovered a few irregularities that has been brought to the attention of the Finance Committee and will be brought to the attention of the Sanitation Committee later on tonight. On how we address those irregularities. There has been letters sent out to garbage customers explaining the billing error and how it was going to be rectified. And a copy of this letter has been provided in your report. Easements. The City of Alva has given copies of easement documentation for the sewer line east of Alva to both property owners that's going to be affected. And we're waiting on them to sign them and get them back to us so we can get them filed. There were a few legal descriptions that staff had tried to correct and get that worked out. The city is certainly a lot closer to getting the easements filed today than we were on December 2nd. We've also hired Taylor and Associates to develop a legal description of the additional easement that's needed for the traffic signal project on 281 and 64. Once this easement documentation is prepared, we'll forward that to the property owner for signature. And at this time, we don't expect any issues with that property owner. He's given verbal consent to the easement pending final legal description of what that easement's going to entail. Annexation. Since the last report on annexation, the city has hired Tyler and Associates to prepare a legal description of properties to be annexed. They've also been asked to include a calculation of the number of acres which would be included in the annexation. Once this information has been delivered to the city of Alva, we'll be able to take our next step in completing that process. It's been some time since I've updated you on the airport runway project. And currently this project is in the hands of FAA. All the required documents have been submitted and are currently being reviewed. Since the projects were submitted, there were several things that slowed it down. One being the government shutdown. They sent all their FAA employees home, so nothing was going to happen at FAA during that shutdown. So that put us a couple of weeks behind. Right now, the city is working, or has had several conversations with FAA and OAC concerning this project, and we're working to get it completed. The U.S. Highway 281 and 64 project, that's the traffic signal project. We've had discussions with the property owner on the easement. Don't see any issues on getting that signed and back to us. We've notified all the utility providers who are going to have to relocate their utilities, asked them to get them relocated by March 1st so the Oklahoma Department of Transportation can let the project out for bid on April 1st. An example of that correspondence was included in this documentation that went out to the utilities. Have not had a follow-up conversation with the utilities. Plan on doing that later on this week. Again, current positions open are the Parks and Building Maintenance positions, Sanitation Worker 2, Street Worker, and Water Sewer Worker number 1. To kind of give you an idea, we've advertised in the newspaper, through the Chamber of Commerce's job posting bulletin board, and through the city's social media outlets, along with Oklahoma Workforce, trying to get prospects. Some of the upcoming meetings we had a Finance Committee meeting tonight, have another one at the next council meeting, Sanitation committee meetings tonight. Library board meeting will be tomorrow morning. I'll be in Oklahoma City on the 8th for an OML Legislative Committee meeting. The Board of Adjustment meeting is January 13th. Airport board meeting will be January 13th. That's both of those next Monday. I'll have an OML Liaison Board and Committee meeting on the 17th. And then the City Managers Association will have their winter conference on January 22nd through the 24th in Stillwater. And Mayor and Councilman, that would be my report. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions that you may have.
Anybody have any questions for Joe Don on the manager's report items? Seeing none, that brings us to item number 6, discussion and action to approve the authorization of the mayor to sign surface damage settlement and release with Sandridge Exploration and Production LLC in the amount of $15,000. You'll find that information under tab number 6. Joe Don.
On December 16th, the City of Alva received a certified letter requesting mayor's signature on a surface damage settlement report release with Sandridge. They were wanting to drill another well out by the current well they have on the airport property. Their original proposal was for them to pay surface damages the same as what they had previously paid at $10,000. I had contacted the airport board member Bob Baker because I knew he would have some information and input on that amount, if that amount was appropriate. And upon his recommendation, we went back to Sandridge and requested $15,000 for surface damage compensation. And the field Rep Mike Blevins agreed on December 30th. So we've got that in front of us tonight, and upon the council approving that, I'll have the mayor sign the appropriate release and send it in to Sandridge so we can get that surface damage collected and they can start their drilling operations.
I would make a motion to approve authorizing the mayor to sign surface damage settlement and release with Sandridge Exploration and Production LLC in the amount of $15,000.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Miller and a second by Mr. Hannaford to approve the authorization. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Miller.
Yes.
Hannaford.
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Valencia.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Lael.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Benson.
Yes.
And that brings us to item number 7, discussion and action to approve an agreement with the Alva Public Schools to provide a school resource officer for the balance of the 2013-2014 school year. Mr. Dunham.
Back in March, the school district approached the city about the possibility of providing a school resource officer or an SRO. At the time, the police department was not staffed sufficiently to provide this service, but since then we've hired some additional officers and been able to get them police certified and are in a position to offer this service. The officer will work primarily with the school district for the remainder of this 9-month school year, and the balance of the year will be working with the police department to ensure police coverage for scheduled time offs such as vacations and things like that the city's going to have to account for. The school, for the balance of this year, the school district's going to reimburse the city $28.03 per hour on a monthly basis for actual hours worked. This rate was calculated based on the officer's salary, the cost of benefits, and the cost associated with providing equipment for the officer. And it has changed since this was put out. It's anticipated that the officer would work 6 hours a day with the school for the balance of this school year. Some of the services this officer will provide to the school, first would be monitor the school for illegal activities to help protect the children that are there. They'll provide some of the other items would be to provide a classroom resource for law education, serve as a resource for students to help enable them to be associated with a law enforcement figure in the future, be a resource for teachers, parents, and students for conferences on individual basis dealing with individual problems or questions. The school resource officer will not be involved in ordinary school discipline unless it pertains to preventing a potential disruption and or climate that places students at risk or harm. It will be a uniformed officer. And this, like I say, this is something that the school has asked us to provide. They will be approving this agreement with the change from 5 hours to 6 hours at their next school board meeting. And I'd be happy to try to answer any questions that you may have about this.
Is this actually for the balance of the school year or the balance for the fiscal year?
It's for the balance of this school year. And then it would be anticipated to renew at every beginning of every school year. And of course, that would be subject to them approving any rates or anything. You know, if they don't approve the rates for next budget year, of course, we're not going to provide the school resource officer.
I was just curious, since the terms of the agreement says it's in effect for the calendar year.
Okay.
They can make that appropriate change.
Yeah.
I think the intent is to go through May.
Yeah.
So, fix it. Funds section. Any other questions on that item? I would entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve an agreement with the Alva Public Schools to provide a school resource officer for the balance of the 2013-14 school year.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Valencia, a second by Mr. Benson to approve the agreement. Is there any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Valencia.
Yes.
Benson.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Hannaford.
Yes.
Lael.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Creed. Yes. Brown.
Yes. That brings us to item number 8, discussion and action to approve the agreement with Northwest Technology Center in Alva to provide school resource officer for the balance of the 2013-2014 school year.
And it's the same. This is the same thing for the technology center as for the school, except they're going to pick up they're only going to pick up 2 hours instead of 3. That'll make up the officer's 8-hour day during the school year. So it'll be the same service for the technology center.
And again, it's just for the balance of this school year.
Yes,
Which should be till May of some
till May.
sort. The date there.
Yeah. And I do anticipate this agreement has been presented to their staff, and I anticipate their approval on that at their board meeting tonight.
I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve an agreement with Northwest Technology Center in Alva to provide a school resource officer for the balance of the 2013-14 school year.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Hannaford, second by Mr. Benson to approve. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Hannaford.
Yes.
Benson.
Yes.
Fisher. Lael.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Creed. Yes. Brown.
Yes.
Valencia.
Yes.
That brings us to item number 9, remarks and inquiries by council members.
I have one. Joe Don and I have put together, more Joe Don than me, put together a presentation for any club or group that may be in Alva that wants to hear a financial report for the city of Alva. We test ran that with the Rotary Club this last week. It went fairly well, and it doesn't have to be limited to finance. It can be opened up for questions on other things as well. So if you have a group or organization that would like to have that, contact myself or Joe Don to keep that scheduled.
Okay, thank you. Any others? Remarks and inquiries by citizens. Seeing none, we'll close that meeting and move to the meeting of the Alva Utility Authority. Item number 1, discussion and action on the approval of the minutes of the meeting held on December 16th, 2013. You have had an opportunity to review those. I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Benson and a second by Mr. Miller to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Benson.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Hannaford.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Valencia.
Yes.
Lael.
Yes.
Creed. Yes.
That brings us to item number 2, discussion and action on the approval of claims. Mr. Miller, do you have claims for this council to consider?
Yes, I do. Make a motion, we approve claims of $41,150.55.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Miller, a second by Mr. Benson for the approval of the claims. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Miller,
Yes.
Benson,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Valencia,
Yes.
Green, Fisher, Brown,
Yes.
Lael,
That's the last item on that agenda, so we will close that meeting, open the meeting of the Alva Economic Development Authority. Item number 1, discussion and action on the approval of the minutes of the meeting held on December 16th, 2013.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Benson, second by Mr. Valencia to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Benson,
Yes.
Valencia,
Yes.
Lael,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Creed, Brown,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Item number 2, discussion and action on the approval of claims. Mr. Miller?
Yes, I'd make a motion, we approve claims of $12,864.50.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Miller, a second by Mr. Benson. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Miller,
Yes.
Benson,
Yes.
Fisher, Lael, Hannaford,
Yes.
Creed, Valencia,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. Item number 3, discussion and, well, how about, let me read the agenda item per it's written. Discuss and approve entering into an agreement with Myers Engineering to provide mechanical engineering services for the design, construction, and installation of an air conditioning and heating system for the Alva Recreation Center with estimated cost of these services not to exceed $16,500. Mr. Dunham.
Well, the Alva Rec Center Board has been discussing for a while now the need for air conditioning and an air conditioning system in the gymnasium. And they agreed at their last meeting to move forward with this project. Myers Engineering has been chosen as the company to provide the mechanical and engineering services for this project. The reasoning behind this decision is their knowledge of the construction and layout of the facility. Myers Engineering was the company that did the original construction design for this building. It's felt that because of this knowledge and the short time frame for completion, they would be able to provide the best service with the quickest turnaround time. The services they are going to be expected to provide for $16,500 are design the heating and air conditioning system, provide plans and specifications for the system, provide bidding documents and services for the system, provide general administration of the construction contract, and provide resident project representative services. The Alva Economic Development Authority has received approximately $100,000 to date in donations, which will be used toward the project, and will be required to do a budget amendment to account for the expenditure related to this project. Due to the scheduling of basketball tournaments, it's expected this project will be completed by mid-March of 2014. We have the engineer's estimate right now for the entire project. I shouldn't say for the entire project, for the construction cost to the project, that meaning the air conditioning, the ductwork, new gas lines for the heating portion of the system, new electrical feeders, a new electrical service, and a fire alarm connected to the system is right now at $175,000. And like I said, the current donations toward the project are roughly $100,000, so that would leave us coming up with $75,000 plus the $16,500 that were in engineering fees that we're talking about now. As far as us, I'm meaning the Alva Economic Development Authority. This was not a budgeted expenditure, so there will be a budget amendment following. following this. But I'd be happy to try to answer any other questions that you may have relating to this. One of the reasons that we are recommending that we use engineering services for bidding, we feel that this will give us a greater pool to choose from. Last time the city tried to do tried to bid this project out without any plans or specifications. The costs were $90 some odd $1,000. But that did not include some work that is going to be required for the new system, and we only got one bidder.
Any additional questions for Joe Don on that item?
You said it'd have to be a budget amendment?
Yes,
Do they have
they
the money
do.
to move in the budget to take care of it?
They do have sufficient cash to account for this expenditure.
I move to approve the agreement with Myers Engineering to provide mechanical engineering services for the air conditioning and heating system at the recreation center for an amount to not to exceed $16,500.
I have a motion by Mr. Benson, second by Mr. Lael, to approve the agreement, amount not to exceed $16,500. Any additional discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Benson.
Yes.
Lael. Fisher. Valencia.
Yes.
Hannaford.
Yes.
Reeves.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. We are adjourned.